Hi, my name is Toby Gray, and I am the team leader of Team 7, the HTML High Rollers. For this project, I was in charge of design, animation, and UI, and I am here to present our project for CSS Blackjack.
I'm John Pham, the co-designer and functionality tester of the HTML group HTML High Rollers. Ready to present.
I'm going to start off with presenting our project, which was the game Blackjack, designing with only HTML and CSS. So let's start. So to begin with, the problem, we had to design Blackjack using only CSS and HTML. And what we encountered was in the beginning we had to set up the game. I provided the format with the HTML code. We started off with background and centering the pics. Me and Toby, we looked up together the cards and card backs we're going to use, and the dealer, the table, and the background color, and we formatted all that. And that was part of the problems we encountered. It's just we had the end in mind, but how do we set it up? The second problem was where we spent most of our time, a week to two, is just implementing functionality without using JavaScript. And JavaScript provide the interactions like functions like math and like clicking and making stuff do stuff. I found it really hard just to make interactions just using HTML and CSS. Uh, Toby dealt a lot with randomization and all that function. My job or my role in the group was messing around with the button and the animations. Like I spent almost 2 days just to look up videos and research on how to make buttons do stuff. And in the end, I'll talk about that later. But we did find solutions for buttons and animations. That was mainly the problem. The significance of these problems was that since we couldn't provide it functions and logic, we could not actually make a game. We could only replicate the UI, the user interface of it, was what we found out. Next slide, the requirements, general requirements, input. So the user, they'll start the game, they'll start the intro animations, it'll zoom into a table, and the user will be able to hit or enter or hover over hit stand, which will, or click, which Toby coded. And the output, you will see the animations of transform and translate. You will see all that. You'll see the cards stacking on the deck, slide down, and you'll see a winning or losing page. And you'll see the style and layout. So you, depending on if they hit or hit stand, it will generate a page that does the animation for winning or losing. Moving on, you will see the UML code of of our rough draft of what the game will interact with the server and the user. The user starts the game, interact with the game. They can hit or stand. Based on hit or stand, it'll go to two options. It'll go to the stand page or hit page. You will see that. But during all this, once the user starts the animation, it will be on the cause server, and the cause server has the coding of the game. So the user can really interact with hit or stand, which we imitated Blackjack. Moving on, you will see the wireframe, how this all started. We started with a project proposal rough draft. It had a wireframe, the diagram of what we wanted the end result to be. We didn't have enough time to implement a bet counter and money, coins. We wanted to do so much, but we realized it would take longer than we thought just to get some basic stuff going. Functionality, I was in charge of that mostly. I shared demos, like 2 to 3 demos, just like making my own blackjack, and I shared like coding of the button and the animations with Toby, and Toby did the main page. We implemented all our work. I had the sliding, so you will see the transition implementation details. That's mostly the deck of cards. You'll see the user interface. That's mostly hit or stand. You'll see the home page. You'll see our layout here, and we can discuss improvements in the future. So to end off on my part, here's my contribution to the group, my work. I spent a lot of time on the button, pulling hairs. Like, as I found out, it's really hard to it's really hard to get the hit or stand button. And I provided so many demos and like spent so much time on coding. But at the end, I found out that I could just use delay. So my solution to the problem was I put the button in a div, in a container, a box, and then I had that box animated. Like it will respond to animations. That was my only solution, honestly, with the button. The card sliding animations, we had like over 50 cards. So I found out like each slide you had to animate. You had to have one animation for each card, and put and we specified each card with ID. But we found out like you cannot put numbers in the ID. So I call like, for example, two of clubs. I call that two, and then two of spades four, two of diamonds five. So you see how that would mess up the ordering. But we realized you had to name it first, so we revised it to card two, card three, card four, and we had to, like, depending on the slides, we animated what card slid out. So that's the only way to work around that. Additionally, as I said in the beginning, I helped format the web page. I centered the dealer and the table, and we decided to make the background all black just for a casino, or was it green? There was too much coding, and I stacked the cards. I legit stacked all 50 cards. I shared that code with the group, and then I had to uh, animate some cards sliding out. I shared demos of that and hit and stand with Toby. And honestly, my main job was getting the button sliding to do something. That's the functionality. My main job was getting the button and the cards to do stuff. So, and I'm glad it's over. But thank you. Uh, that is it.
I was in charge of the design, animation, and UI of the game, which included positioning and layering certain elements together on the screen, utilizing Z-index, which John helped with. And I also implemented animations that allowed the game to play out, which includes displaying a screen, whether you win or lose, or the intro playing out when you first load in the page, or also just allowing the cards to slide across the table, or certain objects like buttons or text fading in. So here's a demo run of the game. Okay, so this here is kind of just the index page, talking about the group roles, description of the game, just how to play it. So let's get started. Got this nice intro animation. Kind of lights up like a spotlight effect. Here's the dealer. He walks on in. They get the start button. Let's get started. You can see the cards. They get dealt, then they flip over, move over for other cards. Let's go ahead and just hit here. We're at 16 now, so, hey, maybe it's too risky. Let's just go ahead and stand. It's got 8, 18. That's bigger than ours. So, of course, the dealer wins. And we fade to the lose screen. So sad. We get this nice piece of advice. Let's go ahead and just retry it, which takes us back to the start. So let's get back into it. Cards deal again. Let's press hit. Takes us to the hit page. Deals that card. Let's go ahead and hit again. Alright, well that's 20, so that's pretty good. So let's just go ahead and stand now. When we hit stand, dealer's cards flip over. He gets his new card. And ours are greater, so we win. And we get taken to the win screen. And of course, we get to try again. Some pseudocode to help understand how the game functions. We have the hit and stand buttons here on the left, which after playing an appear animation, depending on which one you click, it will take you to their respective page. If you click the hit button, it will take you to a page where you chose to hit and play whatever animations are required there, and same for the stand button, where it plays the stand animations on the stand page. So when those pages loaded, what it does is you have the cards that delay their animation based on when they have to move, and they use certain animations which, after they play, hold the same position. And this applies to the objects too, which say they're hidden. Uh, they'll start off with an opacity 0, so they're invisible, delay their animation by however many seconds necessary, and then use the animation that makes them apparent. And you can see how this was implemented on the right with the keyframes, where uh, over the course of the animation duration, it will finish certain movements or transformations, etc., uh, to sort of simulate this animation. So from 0%, nothing is happening. By 50%, it has taken some kind of animation, whether that's moving, maybe it's scaled, maybe its opacity is changed. And then by 100% of the animation, if needed, if it's not just done after that one action, it does another such animation, such as disappearing afterwards. So here's some of the highlights. The cards were implemented through adding a series of nested divs with an image for the front and back contained in divs. The input box, being the UI, was implemented through setting up a flex box with rows and columns, each of which contain a button in each column containing a link to the next page based on which one you click. Hit takes you to the hit page, as said earlier. And for certain aspects such as the screen, more divs were used. The intro was played out by using several divs that took up the entire height of the screen at certain positions, uh, as you can see from the bottom. And how they were implemented with CSS, you can see on the left, CSS was just used for positioning, styling, if necessary, and also setting the z-index so it's in the right layer. In the middle, you can see animations are actually implemented. Uh, you can see cards are able to or use a animation to flip or move. They're delayed by some amount of time. The animations take so much time to play. And even stuff like text, you can see it starts with an opacity of 0, meaning it's hidden, and then uses an animation after a delay and duration, of course, to appear. And on the right, that is the animations used. Some of them are simple, like moving. It's just simple 0 to 100%. Uh, takes its time to move to a certain spot through translations, or maybe it takes some time to appear and then disappear with the game animations. As you can see, it goes from opacity 0, so invisible, and then by 50%, it's fully visible and at the proper scale, and then by the time it's 100%, it's began to disappear and uh, get a little bigger before doing so. So testing, we tested this game on Chrome Edge and Firefox. It seems to work fine. We've had a couple demos of functionality. Um, some demos for getting cards to slide, as you can see on the right, trying to get button interaction to work, which is unfortunately not possible without JavaScript. But we did get a box to move by hovering on the button, as well as just a demo page for displaying the cards to make sure the images were on the back and front, they flipped right. So an issue we had with bugs. So there was a problem with objects being hidden, but this was easily remedied with z-index and positioning. And the bigger issue that is partially unsolved is some objects are just out of place for different resolution display sizes. On my laptop, the game looks fine, but on my desktop, the cards were, as you can see on the right, out of place completely, and the dealer is floating a little. And this was partially solved by changing the positioning options from percentages to pixels. So instead of saying like a left 400 pixels, you could do like a left 40%. And it's better. It's still not perfect. There's still some issues, but it is serviceable. So to conclude, HTML and CSS can in fact imitate a game, but it's not able to make a dynamic. Our achievement would be that we were able to make a functioning blackjack game that is able to properly replicate it using animated cards and button interactions, as well as having animated screens. But it's rigged. Um, some future possibilities that we could look into, or adding more interactions, meaning different cards are picked, maybe different screens are added, such as like a stalemate, and if something like JavaScript were permitted, it'd be nice to be able to add actual logic to allow for random selection of cards as well as buttons functionality without having to use multiple pages as a trick to play animations as necessary.